podcast you cheer for. Sneaker business talk. It's the Soul Material Podcast.
It's the Soul Material Podcast, the podcast you cheer for with your man, the OGEO.
All right, T-Mark the Street Sharp. We're here.
We are here once again to bring you sneaker business talk in the most authentic, purest, integral form. And we are going to go right into it today with a topic that has taken the sneaker culture world on fire, upside down, turned out, so forth, with the fact that one of the biggest resale or trading marketplaces, as far as in the black market or aftermarket, whatever term you want to use, good old StockX, because of choices we will talk about in a few minutes, have decided to take the authentication, can't say it right, the authentic tag off of their sneakers. And as we all know, no matter when you got into the game or got into StockX or got familiar with them, one of the main things with them was that they guaranteed their shoes to be authentic, which brought a sense of security, a sense of warmness, and a sense of just safety overall with how rugged the game has gotten with fakes and variants and everything in between these new names of these unauthentic shoes. So with that being said, Shark, tell us what's going on here and how the community has to adjust to this foolishness.
Well, they have to adjust because at the end of the day, this is another result of some legal issues. Surprise, surprise, because Nike was suing StockX, and there's probably a number of other suits that are going on that are just below the surface right now. But when in that particular case, they were, I think the arbitrator said that it was in favor of Nike, which is why this action is happening. And that favor was StockX. You can't say what's authentic or not. You can't just come in. We've been here forever, and so have all these other brands that even were around before Nike. Who are you to say what's authentic and what's not? You can't. Like that's only the creator can say that it's authentic because we made it. And then if somebody else made it, then it's not authentic. So you can't come in and then make yourself the authority. So that's what that was about. And that's actually true. That's kind of some things that we've, sprinkled in nuggets throughout all of the seasons here at the Soul Material Podcast.
You're the one, Tony, that always said, hey, what degree did you earn, or what qualifications or what training does it take for you to be an authenticator? Like, please let me know I get my certificate too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, and that's why it's clarity over popularity here, because who's the sensei? Who you learning from? Where did they learn from? The Oracle, where's zero? Where did it start? And that's always the question. And if you can't even think in that level of regression, like it hasn't been going on for but so long. It's like, how did they get there? Because this is how the consumer has so much more power to not allow these people to come in, and then just say, if you recall the beginning of StockX, it was actually more statistical, and they were just taking the sales of eBay and documenting the sneaker sales as a stock market. And then the need for it grew for the actual marketplace, and they had the first brand because they were already monitoring the activity going on eBay. So they kind of came in with the niche and was first to the market. So that's what's going on, for real. So they had to just change the label on their listings now. So that's specifically what we're talking about here for our audience. Just to be clear, we're talking about the labels have now changed. So they don't say 100% authentic. They just say brand new. Well, we hope that they're brand new, but another thing that helped Nike in their case was that fakes have seep through the system. So, and that's been known. So you can't be the authority, and that issue happens, and then it keeps happening. Like these aren't isolated incidents. They're not bad apples. There's a tree that the bad apples are coming from. So you gotta dig that up. So
Shark, it's so involved, man, because we've done business with StockX for a few years now, and I could tell you, and we have our own experiences in which they have not been too kind to folks who have attempted to return things back to them and question the authentication process or the authentication of the shoes that they received. And they've been nasty to people I know personally and professionally, in which they will actually close their accounts after they refunded them after sending a shoe back. And it's just kind of bizarre what's going on now, because let's go back to the origins. Let's go back to the flea market days in which you knew a shoe was fake because how it looked and how it was built, the colorway, and and so forth. And now we're at a stage now in which people are actually trying to justify these, what are they called? These unauthorized authentics. Is that the term I guess they use? Yeah. And so that's where we are now, to where, particularly with the Jordan 1, with the Air Force 1, with the shoe, with the technology, it's very simple. How can you tell now? You got to have a blue light. You got to have your flashlight. You got to have your magnifying glass. You got to know the stitching. And quite frankly, Nike can make mistakes too. So a stitch can be off here and there and come directly from them. And that's just how wicked things have gotten. But Tony, one thing that I have really been concerned about is, particularly during the pandemic time, I saw how wearing the tag on your shoe was a flex, definitely for the sneaker community. I saw whether it was the eBay tag or it was the StockX tag, or even stores, buy, sell, trade stores were coming up with their own tags. I know a few stores in Jersey, New York, and so forth. And that was really a flex. Say, hey, my shoes are real, and I'm going to wear my shoe with the tag on it. And now with that tag being off, it's just interesting now, because an authentic shoe is what a brand new shoe is what, and unauthorized, if you will, authentic is brand new as well. Smells the same, looks the same, but you got to have a scale to say, oh, this shoe is 0.2 pounds lighter than a authentic, so it's not authentic. So the game has just gotten twisted all the way around. And even with these buy, sell, trade shops we talked about, Tony, who is their person saying something's authentic and not? And how do we know things aren't going through? And I'm not saying it's malicious, not saying it's intentional. It happens. It happened to GOAT. It happened to StockX, where even with Nike, like I said, with their suit, they're saying, hey, these shoes were not authentic. And you sent them back to us saying that they were authentic, and we made them. So it's just a real wacky time in the game right now. Because, like, who can you trust? What can you trust now?
Well, welcome to the metaverse, because all you just described the journey of gaining badges. Like, it's still no equity in in that badge in other places, but in wherever you're at, that's what it is. So you can't put too much on it. To be honest with you, the consumer has cared less over time, because and you're caring less to know that, you just want the whatever gratification that you get when you get it, and keeping the tags. And we've talked about some of that too, of keeping the StockX tags on there, and that's like like I got them, and then personally, that I look at that as, oh, you paid more than you should have, because there's nothing on that. Look, you're not getting any release date shoes for retail price on StockX. Like, you're gonna have to get it like way later when everything go down or something like that. That's just not the case, and it's not even the nature of their business to promote the other stuff. So that's why there's a landing page of trending stuff. That's why they have listings for stuff. If it come out on Saturday, the listings start like Tuesday. Like how they fulfilling those if the stores that sell them haven't sold them yet. It's like there's something odd with that, and then the customer, why don't you care that there's something odd with that? At the end of the day, we're talking about who you can trust. who you asking that question to? You know what I'm saying? Again, that's why that's why we're the podcast to cheer for, because we're giving that sneaker business talk, because this is the clarity and overpopularity example of what we're talking about. We're just trying to tell you, just go educate yourself, and then you will have more trust and faith. How about this? Gain one or two places that you have loyalty to, and then just mess with them. Start there. You know what I'm saying? Start with one boutique. Start with one website. And then build your trust. Shark already gave you some tips on the overseas websites and things like that, and those boutiques. We'll drop some more gems for you later. But again, build your bridge of trust. It's not going to build it for you. So you can sit here and flash a flashlight in the dark room all you want to, but you probably want to just go find a light switch and light up that room so that you can get what you want, learn and see the lay of the land, instead of someone having to navigate you through it, so that's what we're here to do. We're here to turn that light switch on, or help you find the light switch in your own situation, and just make sure you cop that deal, friend of a friend. That's it. We talk about sneaker friend stories all the time. That's where it starts. So that's how you don't get caught. You know what I mean? It's just like the same thing. How you know where to get something to eat good? It's the same thing. You get your referrals. You try it out for yourself. And then you find the stuff that you like. Yeah.
But just like the example we just gave, Tony, you know how it is when, and this is a prime good analogy and example what you just used, as far as when you're hungry and you go to the same spot and you might gotta wait another few minutes, you get impatient, and then you go somewhere else and you get something that just wasn't the same of what you were expecting because of your impatience, your lack of loyalty, everything in between. And that just reminds me of where the game has gone, because people are so impatient and they get so hungry. We used to call it thirsty. I'm not sure if they even use that term anymore, for these shoes. And I guess the security was that you would pay a little extra more for something because you thought it was authentic and you had to trust it being authentic. And now,
what were you really paying for the authenticity, or were you paying for the delivery of the trust? Because it's some of that's the messenger who you trusted, like, or was that, I don't remember that being the conversation of like, yeah, these authentic because I got them from you. It was just like, see, we had different relationships because actual accounts actually existed. So you couldn't be a store, and we knew it was just a starker difference, because you saw the mom and pop store in the mall, and you clearly knew that they didn't have an account, and just the whole way that it was set up, or you could tell that they had an account at another franchise store, wink, wink, and then in their other shop, maybe in the same mall or another, they were funneling that extra inventory from the one store that had the real account and then cloning themselves. All right. But that little clone was probably some of the beginning, but it wasn't the culture doing that. Like people that were coming up from the culture. So some of the young people that grew into this, that's what the buy sell trade started to come up, and then part of the vintage kick for a newer generation with the Gen Z. A lot of them love the 90s for whatever reason. So this stuff sticks out to them, but their consumer behavior is way different, right? Here's one more example for that clarity over the popularity. Just think about what degrees of control you have in your decision making and what you consume. All right. We talked about the food now. Here's another analogy for the culture. All right. Barbershop. How do you even, what's the first relationship with your barber? How do you even get to know the barber? You just go to a different barber every time? I don't think so. And if your barber's busy, or if your barber's good, he's going to be busy. So you're going to have to wait sometimes.
all the time.
What's going on with the one barber sitting in the chair that ain't got no customers?
You don't want to find out.
You don't trust them, right? But look at those optics. Why don't you trust them? Why don't you trust them? You don't trust them because optically nobody else does, right? And then on top of that, like you might, maybe you witnessed, something, or just like, oh, he knew or something like that. So, but that new barber could turn into the new it barber though. You know what I mean? But there's no like, oh, I missed the wave or whatever. You got, and then you got your barber wars with your relationship. But that's like the plugs and connects that we talked about.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? Which one is which? First of all, because they're not the same. And what is your relationship with them? So how much do you trust? And you should trust how much you know about a situation, not how much someone tells you. Because I'd love to know where you get it from, as well, just to make sure. Because remember the days of the especially early eBay selling days where the customer, right? How many emails did we both get over a long period of time of when we sold stuff on eBay where the customer specifically wanted the receipt, the original receipt from the store?
That's the thing.
From the store or from the website, customers will give you negative feedback if you did not offer the receipt.
Shoe came in 2 days, brand new, untouched, box perfect, negative feedback because receipts not missing. And there's nothing in your listing saying that you was going to give the receipt, quite frankly.
Exactly.
So I remember those days. Trust me.
So customers, what happened to you? Anybody that wants to join eBay or whatever, how come StockX? You might be able to authenticate a little more if you give better benefits to sellers that have all of that information. And then you share it. But there's probably a reason why you don't want to share it.
There you go.
Because that'd be too much transparency. We would give it this again. I told you, a while ago that the key is the pizza tracker. I want to see the whole thing. I want to see the photos when you get it, StockX. Looking at you. Yep, StockX. We're looking at you. We want to see the photos when you send it out.
And like you mentioned before, Tony,
all the way through.
The technology is there and it's easy to obtain. And if a restaurant can have it or a fast food restaurant can have it now, it's easy to do. It's very easy to.
StockX is DoorDash.
There you go.
I can see it when it's coming.
Literally,
I see
live.
And the person delivering is responsible for checking in at different checkpoints. They're tracked all the way. And you got a photo documentation. You get it emailed to you. It's inside the app. This infrastructure isn't even, it's old at this point. So you can do it, Oh, yeah, but what else is StockX doing? Laying off a bunch of people.
There you go.
Laying off people. So that's because part of the market is shifting again too. So go ahead, and it's not only StockX, all of these eBay and Goat and any other marketplace, because of the politics of this world, and the tax laws have changed for them. So anybody, you got the emails, and probably many of our listeners have as well, because the threshold isn't that much. It's $600.
Yeah.
So as soon as you sell $600 worth of merchandise, it don't have to be profit or nothing. Just 600 sales dollars of revenue. They are liable to report it.
Which at this point now,
so
that's two shoes.
That's why they won't release your funds until you update the tax information again, because that happened to me. So you're not going to be flying, but so far under the radar with these things. So
at all.
whatever and the next thing isn't coming as fast as the other next things used to. So it's, again, the consumers, you can't cut but so many corners, because are the consumers that were, really buying it to actually consume the product, or the people buying to resell. That's what the pandemic kind of slowed you up, because you didn't get to keep getting the new good deals coming back. So, that's why these sales aren't really happening like that. So, and then so many people entered the marketplace at lower prices and sales. Look what you did to the market.
There you go. There you go. And you used a key term a few minutes ago, Tony. I want to crawl back in when you said there was a shift. And my concern, just historically, me being me, is that this sneaker thing is $1 billion industry. The black market, aftermarket, whatever term you want to use, multi-million-dollar industry. And the shift, unfortunately, I think is going to go towards more fakes, variants, whatever you want to call them, with that being a multi-million-dollar industry too. And it's cool if I know something is fake and not authentic and I to choose, but people are still getting robbed blind and still getting frauded. And it is unfortunate. I think that would be an increase of that going on in that underworld, because that is a huge underworld within itself, particularly you're talking about with Jordan 1s and so forth. Man, you got to be a shoeologist now, Tony, to see the differences in what's real and what's fake now.
Yeah, and I'll just keep going back to the source, right? Because we talk about aftermarkets. Well, the retail market is already an aftermarket, because it's the wholesale market is the beginning. So, and that's what's getting mushy with the supply demand and supply chain, just as far as resources, limited resources, and wavering demand, wavering, economy and outlooks for financial planning, all that stuff in between,
which we talked about before. Plug, check out our past episodes
again. And so when you do all of that, what do you think is going to happen? Especially, again, the consumer doesn't care.
There you go.
That's the biggest issue. You don't care to have the relationship with the brand, because it's funny how you can be this indirectly loyal consumer, so you think, but you're not in a rush to buy directly from them. The solution to all of this is more direct to consumer.
There you go.
That's actually what Nike was doing by cutting out Foot Locker, and Foot Locker investing in the aftermarket when we were covering that. That, you don't be mad at that. That's to the consumer's advantage if you care enough, but you don't, because you're trying to find the next loophole to make money. At some point, all of this stuff just keeps recycling. Who's buying to buy? They're not. So
too many MCs, not enough mics.
There you go. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of the gist of where we're at with that. And again, back to how we started with StockX and them changing the labels. That's just the next thing. But wasn't this inevitable anyway? Because again, who's the source? Who's the oracle? Who's the governing body that says, again, have the relationship with the real consumer relationship with the brand, and then you won't have to worry. You can trust the most because you bought it from the Puma website. You bought it from the Reebok website. Nobody does this anymore. I was like, it's not even in a rush to do this stuff anymore. All right, because you're probably going through blog sites to get to those links to the real sites in the first place, because you just don't want to do the work to get there. You want someone to present it to you. You want some entity to present it to you, feed it to you. That's why we're at, because the vultures came in because you won't do it on your own. So again, clarity over popularity. We're not trying to replace that. We're trying to empower you, right? So we're not the source to to give you, a post with all the links to go get something, right? We're trying to add back to this culture so that it enriches everyone into, you can do it yourself. Like, so here's where the water is. We lead you to the water. We don't have to tax you along the way. That's not how we choose to do our business over here. But again, so closing remarks from the OG before we wrap this one up.
Not at all, man. My heart just broken because you summed it up the best, Sharp. People just don't care anymore. And I know we are probably the last of the dying breed that if something costs $50 more, we are not only investigating it, we may just pass on it. And those days are now gone. So again, you've said this numerous times, just care more. And we are in a time to where even guys who have the amount of years in this game that we have, they're just conforming to this as opposed to I'm not saying taking some kind of revolutionary stand, but if everyone took a stand on certain things, it could be shifts, as you said in previous episodes, because the power is really in the consumer hands. They just don't want to take that power on. Maybe they don't recognize it. Maybe they don't know. Or maybe, like you just said, you just don't want to because, when we say the word, laziness, and it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you a little. It may cost you a lot, but it's going to cost you. And now, because of the lack of folks just wanting to put in the work, like you said, we are where we are in these days in which, this possibility, I may be getting a fake shoe.
Yeah. But look what your pride will do. So just be careful. Just be careful out there, folks. If you have to think about it being worth it, it's probably not worth it.
There you go.
There you go. Well, that's it for this episode from the Soul Material Podcast. So it's T-Mart the Street Shark signing off.
And the OGEO. Till next time. Peace to you.